from the Channel Seed Studios. Welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of The Hook. My name is Ken Miller. I'm along with Trent Condon, talk sports on Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO, weekdays from 11 to 1. My partner on The Hook is the Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. He is Mike Palm. Lots coming up on the program. The NHL, the NBA, those series, or do we have series? I think we do in the NHL. We'll see about the NBA, do a little MLB, update you on Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. That and whatever else pops into our head between now and the end of this. I'll start, Mike, by first of all saying good afternoon to you. Where I come to you from the Pacific time zone, the best time zone if you're a fan of sports, watching the puck drop at 5:15 and the ball go in the air at 7 or 5:30. It's just ideal. I love the Pacific time zone for sports.
The Eastern time zone is tough, Kenny. I lived in Atlantic City for a year. You know, you go to church on Sunday morning and then you got to wait 3 hours for football. It's just, and then so late, you can't really watch the West Coast games. Where we're at here in the Pacific, and you're in California, I'm in Nevada, we really get spoiled. I know I went on vacation to Hawaii. It was a little too early, you know, kick them off at 8 a.m. In 1999, I went to Maui for 11 days and in November, which was like a perfect time for the weather there. But we had an NFL Sunday while I was out there. So enjoy it while you're there this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can't say that it's been great weather, but certainly for the sports, it's been unbelievable. But there's something to be said about the ocean, just being able to walk by it, right? That makes up for the weather. So, anyways, so let's start with we're both into the hockey, the NHL. It looked until about through the first 58 and a half minutes of the game last night that this thing was more likely to end in a sweep than end in a good series. But Matthew Tkachuk, who came back into the game after he was sent to concussion protocol, as he's done throughout this entire playoffs. He carried the Panthers on his back, put them into overtime, and the game was won, and we have a series, don't you think?
Oh, I really think. The Knights were 2 minutes from sweeping. And now I actually think the pressure's on the Knights in Game 4 tomorrow night. They don't want to come home 2-2, and then you're in a spot where it's almost a must-win in Game 5. Yeah. When you looked thoroughly in control after dominating the first two games. So they were there. They scored a couple power play goals, but they play so well on defense. You know, they really do in front of Hill. Mm-hmm. You know, you get a rebound there. They weren't able to clear. They had a chance when the puck was behind the net, I thought, to clear that puck right after they pulled Bobrovsky, and they couldn't get the clear, and you get a clear shot and a rebound, and, you know, and then Florida has to survive the penalty. They had almost a full 2 minutes come out.
They did.
Overtime. So, kudos to Florida. Call. Yeah, it was. It absolutely was. But kudos to Florida. They made this a series, and it should be a good one in Game 4 tomorrow night. You know, if the price on the Knights at -$6 after two games obviously was too high, to take the shot on Florida there, you know, was. I think that if you like Florida in Game 4, you should bet it now at $1.18, $16. Because I think by game time it'll be close to $1.30. If you like the Knights, I'd wait.
Yeah, probably so. Something to be said for live betting. NBA and the NHL, but certainly some good opportunities out there. Who did you think was the Conn Smythe favorite? Is the game's going along last night? Obviously, Marcia Show's putting them in the back of the net. Mark Stone's been terrific. But Aiden Hill at 20-1 or 12-1 rather is where I think he started prior to the series. I thought that, you could make a case that he was going to win the vote.
Nah, I disagree with that, Kenny. I have a friend that bet Marchessault at 36-1 before the Dallas series. And he says, should I bet Hill? Should I bet Eichel? I said, no, you got to bet the Florida guys as a hedge.
Yeah.
And then Marchessault scores the goal. I mean, he's -180 now. He was -120 last night. He's anywhere between 160 and 180 in the market. Tkachuk is, what is he, 9-2 right now, and Bobrovsky's 10-1. If I would hedge with those two guys, not with another night.
Yeah, it looks like Marchessault's probably in the driver's seat. If the Knights win the Stanley Cup, he's going to be the guy. Aiden Hill's been good though.
He's been good, but would you have said in any of the 3 games, wow, it was all Aiden Hill? No, they scored 5, they scored
defense.
7. So that's the thing, though, that you're not talking about him. And Kenny, he's not a name. He's also not an established name.
Interesting point. Never thought of it that way, but I think there's something to be said for that.
I feel like a guy like Shesterkin or a guy like Carey Price could play the same series as Hill and would have a better shot of winning it.
Yeah. Interesting take. Your thoughts on the NBA so far? Most folks thought that the Nuggets would, leave Denver up 2-0, but Miami would win a game back in their home building. Well, they got a chance tonight. The number is what, 3? I think I saw.
Was 3.5. It's down to 3.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the bettors, they were all Denver. Game 1, lay the points, money line, right. Second game, they took Miami, right. Third game, we actually won. They took the points with Miami at home. So I'm interested to see where we wind up at tip-off tonight, who we're going to need. I thought this game would go to 4 before it went to 3, but it went to 3. So we'll see with the late money, but just Denver to the eye test to me. I mean, I'd be shocked for Miami to win the series. People bet minus a game and a half. People bet 4-1, 4-2. Really good chance that comes in, I think, those bets that were so popular pre-series.
Are you upside down on that at Circa?
No, we win to either future result. We just don't want to get beat up too bad in any of these games because we're the exposure with the Knights. I mean, we got trounced individually in both the first 2 games, and last night was kind of a push because there was some Florida people saying, it's a must-win. Plus, they bet the under because it was a must-win in Florida. So we kind of pushed in that game. We'll probably need Florida in Game 4. They'll come back to the Knights. Mm-hmm. But it's $1 million swing for the future book, Knights versus Panthers for us.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
For folks that want to attend a Stanley Cup game, are you surprised by how expensive it is in Las Vegas to get to?
Outrageous.
It's
outrageous.
Nuts.
Outrageous.
Yeah.
Lower bowl, center ice seats are going for $8,000-$9,000 a ticket. I mean, that's crazy. Outrageous to me.
Yeah.
Even our season tickets, like a ticket in the box in our suite, is $2,300 a ticket for these games, and the glass is $3,000 a ticket.
Derek certainly got a lot of exposure during this Stanley Cup.
Oh, he has, and the patch. I mean, on the home games,
that's really good point.
A ton of exposure. Yep.
So when you guys entered into that agreement with the Golden Knights, obviously wanted to go as far as they would. Did you think that this was going to be the jersey of choice once, if indeed they did get to the Cup this far in?
Yeah, that was part of it. That would be for the home jersey. Yep. Now, road jerseys can't advertise casinos, so that was never a part where we could bid on it, right? Because not all places have legalized gambling. So one of the NHL rules is road patch can't have anything to do with gambling. So it's been good. It's pricey. It's definitely pricey, and long runs in the playoffs are pricey, but it drives, like with the official watch party, an additional 2,000 people to Stadium Swim to the casino. When it's not the official one, it's between 1,500 and 2,000. So it does bring a ton of people, some of them who've never been here before.
Yeah, the crowd that I saw last night, when Trent and I were out there, what series was it? The Winnipeg series, the Dallas series? Early, it seemed like it was busier last night, Mike, than it was and I think we were there on a Monday night for one of the games, so maybe that had something to do with it. But I got to assume that you guys are pleased with that relationship as well.
We are. It's been very good as well, and I think we've chosen the right partners with what we've done. We get a lot of people reaching out to us, a lot of teams.
Do you?
A lot of teams, and now the Blackhawks with going to Illinois, the Dodgers have been constantly peppering us. Even some Bay Area teams. So it's interesting. It's all economics and very expensive.
No, absolutely is. Speaking of the Dodgers in California, that market's still there. I mean, how much money is being left on the table because they can't get? And I know it's the tribes that have they have such a big influence on everything in California. Are they maybe not as close to adopting sports wagering than you would have thought at this point?
Well, remember they had the dueling bills, and they both spent so much trying to defeat the other bill that they both lost, and by wide margins. One was the bill with the natives, and the other was the bill that would basically only be controlled by the Big Four. So we were hoping for the Indians because there's no way we can get into the Big Four. We would get in with the natives. But they both lost. I don't know that either bill even got 30%. If they would have just focused on their bills, because we had the state treasurer from California at an event at Legacy Club about 2 months before the vote, and we asked her, what if both bills pass? She said, then the California legislature has to sit down and write a bill that incorporates both. So that everyone, if they both pass.
Right.
But they were so concerned to get the whole pie and defeat each other that it didn't even come close. And now, I mean, it takes a lot to go from 30% to get 50% on a referendum. I mean, and think, what do they have? How many million people in California? I don't even know. 50 million? I don't even know. 40-some million, right? So the amount of campaigning you have to do is ridiculous.
Get out your crystal ball. Who's first, Texas, Florida, or California? 3 big states.
I'll go with Florida because I think the Seminoles work better with that state legislature in Florida. Okay. And you have Republican DeSantis, who's going to be running for president. I think there's an opportunity probably in Florida before. I think the vote last year sets California back 4 or 5 years.
That's unfortunate.
Texas, you got too many people illegal bookmaking and running stuff like that.
Right.
They already have a huge business. They don't want it legalized, right? And they have influence.
Yeah, very good point.
Plus, it would really hurt. It would really hurt Oklahoma economy.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point. You mentioned the Dodgers. They are in the same division with the team you did partner with, the Padres. I can't get over this team, Mike. They should be better. I know we've talked about it a million times. You're right. You bring it up all the time. It's your right to do so. The starting pitching is awful. The Mets and the Padres, 2 teams that spend a boatload of money on that roster. At this point, neither one of them looks as though they're bound for postseason.
No, I wouldn't rule them out, but the Padres, I was looking, I told you I made a future bet and we'll get into it here, but I mean, the Padres, I saw them as low as 14-1 to win the World Series. Who's watching these games?
Right. No one apparently.
It's interesting, but I think the Mets are in a better spot in terms of, I think they have better pitching and a better bullpen. I think the Padres I look at that rotation. I just keep saying it, there's no ace. Michael Wacha has been their best pitcher by far. It's not even close.
And how many teams have cast him adrift at the end of the year?
8 years ago. I mean, he was one of the 4 or 5 best pitchers in the National League for a couple of years with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But now he's found his rhythm. He's did a lot of breaking stuff and throwing strikes. But who knows there? I think that the baseball races are really wide open. And you can make arguments for a lot of teams with all these wild cards getting in. Yes, you got to get to the playoff. When you are making a World Series bet, you should not be saying, is this team going to win the World Series? You should be saying, is this team going to make the playoffs?
Right. Because once you get in, you got a shot. It starts anew.
I mean, the Dodgers are 6-1. That's ridiculous. I'd need 25-1 on the Dodgers. Yeah. Seriously. I think you can get Arizona at plus 550 to win the West. I think that's a decent bet. I do. That's a young team. They've got speed. The bullpen's been decent so far. People undervalue. Look at why is Merrill Kelly only $1.35 tonight in Detroit? I mean, the market's caught up to Gallon, but Kelly, you still get value with each start. I think that Arizona's going to give them a big run there. And by the way, the Giants aren't playing that bad either.
No, they're starting to play better. Didn't Kelly start the World Baseball Classic?
He did.
I think he did. Didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Interesting. Well, let's find who did you bet this week?
So I went on with Mitch and Paul, and I said you have to bet this team at 150-1.
Oh my.
I hadn't bet him yet. Mitch texted me an hour later. He says they're 300-1 at FanDuel, which Boyd. See if you can go over to the kiosk and get it in. Whatever you bet, I'll split it with you. The White Sox, 300-1, Kenny.
Yep.
300-1. I got 100 in on for each of us, and I had to do it 20 at a time at the kiosk.
Did you?
When I gone to the window, they just said, "Well, we'll give you 200-1 for 100." So
right.
That division is awful. Minnesota can't hit the ball.
Under 500.
Cleveland can't hit the ball. The White Sox made up 9.5 games in the standings in the last 35 games, and they're only 10 games above 500. Everybody's playing poorly. The Tigers aren't winning it. The Royals aren't winning it.
Nope.
They just have to get in. They just have to be one of the 3 division winners. At 300 to 1, I had to bet it. I told Josh Towers that today when I was hosting Lombardi Line. He said, we don't have enough time in this 10-minute segment for me to explain to you why that's a bad bet. He says they're the worst fundamental team. Tim Anderson, that the fly ball drops, there's a no-hitter. They don't do this, blah, 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 blah. I said, and all of that is the division. Yeah. You still have Cease. You still have Giolito. The kid from Cleveland has pitched well. You got to get Lance Lynn out of that rotation somehow.
He's been bad.
They need to send him with the other whale, Manoah, somewhere, but he can't. You can't keep with him. But I don't know. I think they have more offensive firepower there. Hendricks coming back's a big deal to me.
In the clubhouse too,
right? Yeah, I had to make 300 to 1. They were 25 to 1 out of spring training, and they're 3.5 back. I have to make the bet.
I bet him at 8 to 1 to win the division 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I told Condon on the air we had to go to break. He was laughing at my pick. He thought it was so bad.
He's a Twins fan.
Yes, he is. Look, the Guardians are Bieber's on the market. Once he goes, that's the white flag being waved by it. And he's one of the best pitchers in the game. He's not going to be there. They can absolutely win the division. What did they start the day at? 3.5 back today, I think.
3.5. Yep.
Yeah.
And they have a big series hosting Miami. Minnesota's in Toronto. They can make up more games this weekend.
Yeah.
They got to win 2 out of 3 from the Marlins are a sneaky team.
They are.
They're a sneaky team. They got some good young pitchers. Alcantara's been terrible, and they're still above 500. So 3 different people asked me this question in the last 36 hours, Kenny. If Luis Arias hits 400, is he the MVP? And I said no. Nobody cares about singles hitters. Nobody's watching the Marlins.
No, it's true.
The only way we get any interest in it is if we put a prop up in mid-July if he's still above 400. Will Luis Arias hit 400? That's the only way you get any interest.
When will you put that up?
We get past the All-Star break and he's still above 400. Why not? Here's another prop I want Jeff Benson to pit up. Will a pitcher named Gray win the American League Cy Young? So you get Sonny and John. I just bet John Gray. I'll tell you, I bet $100 at 75 to 1. You got to overcome, McClanahan and Cole and probably Gaussman and Evoldi and Framber. Who just continues to pitch very well. But Gray, look, he threw a complete game the other night. He gives up 1 run. They couldn't score off of Flaherty. They're scoring the most runs in baseball now. Texas, they got the greatest margin. I think if John Gray could win 15 games this year and have an ERA, 2.6 and strike out 220 guys and throw his name at 75 to 1. I had to take a little taste.
What a difference a manager makes with that ball club, right?
We didn't talk about that enough. And I bet over their win totals, but you could have got them plus money to make the playoffs. You could have to win the division. And I'm upset that I didn't factor Bochy in enough. I just factored in the players. I did bet Simeon at 100 to 1 for MVP.
He's having a great year.
But, Ohtani will be tough to overcome with the hitting. The pitching has been disappointing.
Where's he going to go? They're going to trade him, right?
Somebody just asked me would they package DeGrom and try to get him to Dallas, to the Rangers. I say no, because I say he will go to a market with a heavy Asian population. All these teams are doing studies on how much is he worth to you in marketing, in ticket sales and in merchandise, which Seattle would be huge. The California teams would be, New York would be huge, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to have that. I don't think Central Texas has enough of the Asian push that makes sense.
You know who David Kaplan, he's convinced he's going to be a Cub. Now, they don't need him for the box office. Wrigley sells out constantly. Does Chicago make sense to you, North Side?
They going to spend that money?
They say they will.
Well, maybe. He'd be, they need to add more seats at Wrigley. Seriously though, on the days he pitches it'd be interesting. I wouldn't mind that because I'd get over there a couple times to watch him pitch. Go visit my mom and make that a trip.
One more on baseball, then we'll wrap up with Survivor and Millions. What about, we know how bad the American League Central is. National League Central is not much better. How about Cincinnati?
The kid, yeah, you got the kid.
Kid's unbelievable, but you can't bet him. He's too short a price already, I'm guessing.
He's 3-1. He's played a week.
Oh, my God.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He's
3-1. 3-1.
Yeah.
Every time I turn on the Reds game, within 5 minutes, David Boone is out there getting thrown out. He's getting. I mean, what does this guy do? I mean, he's arguing every day something. So indignant.
Yeah.
I don't think they have enough depth in the pitching. I watch Burns, and I look, and Peralta hasn't been as good, and the Brewers are kind of hit and miss.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, they're kind of clawing their way back into it. I still think the Cubs. And by the way, nobody's talking about Stroman. How good has Stroman been for them?
Oh, he's been phenomenal.
It's unbelievable how good he's been.
Right.
I don't know if the Cubs are out of it yet, Kenny. I think they might still stick, because that's another division. 85 wins is probably going to win it.
Absolutely. Circa Survivor, Circa Millions business picking up.
Yeah, I think we're a little over 200 right now, and we did a weekend with some different radio markets came out. The ones that couldn't be here for the contest weekend, we called it too early for football weekend. So we have Rogel camps here.
I saw that.
And I met these guys from Dallas. They were terrific last night. This Dallas station, talked to them for 20 minutes out at Stadium Swim. So that'll pick up and get in and out with the viewers. We're going to do August 4th, the weekend before you come up. Derek and I are going to go up to Sparks in Northern Nevada and do a sign-up weekend there. Really try to hit the Northern California markets, bring the proxies up and try to do it there. And then you guys are out the next week, and then 2 weeks later is our big weekend.
Yeah, my former radio partner Matt Peralt and Sherpan are both going to become proxies. They're entering the proxy market.
That's great for us.
I think it is.
Well, of course it is, because we don't have to sponsor their show, and they're still tied into getting us a lot of sun.
Oh, they'll be glad to hear. I won't say a word.
No.
You know what? I think we're going to use them. I'm going to try to get our group to go with my buddy Peralt.
I told Sherapan, are you sharp enough to be a proxy?
Yeah, it's funny. Have a wonderful weekend, Mike Palm. We'll do this again next week. Good to see you, and thanks for everybody for tuning in here to another episode of The Hook. That's Mike Palm. I'm Ken Miller. This Hook sponsored by Circa Sports here on iWeverywhere. We'll see you next time.